sex can have. It's only looking at ways in which the changes that will occur because these decouplings have occurred, not that there are no others. So, of course, in part because, look, there's another fact, right? So sex and reproduction is one. This is one coupling. And that one we've largely taken care of, but there's also another one, which is sex and romance. And sex and another thing, which is hard to, I'm just going to call it this, sex and fantasy. So there are a whole set of interior things that have to do with these latter two. So think of this, what sexually excites you? You know, what do you get turned on by? And it might be that you don't know fully all of the things that will turn you on. So there's a question of what of the things that you see will have a certain kind of effect on you, and you might not know what those are until you see them, right? So, and then the other is what you already, as it were, what thoughts you already have about what sex is and what it means that you now bring to this complicated interaction with another person. So I think one of the things that we're doing is we're decoupling sex from romance. And one of the ways we're doing that, right, is we're saying this, that the initiation of a sexual relation with somebody need not be the initiation of a romance, of whatever kind. It doesn't mean that we're going to be dating. It doesn't mean that we're thinking of getting married. It doesn't mean that we're doing anything as yet more than meeting occasionally to do this thing. And that's already a serious change, because you're not projecting onto what you're doing the meanings that it would have if you were thinking of it as initiating a relationship. You're not thinking about that. So, you know, when you're thinking about making love to somebody or having sex with somebody, that you're thinking will be part of your life, right? That you're thinking maybe you'll live with, that you think maybe you'll have children with, that you think you'll introduce to your friends and family, that you, then how you're responding, even in bed, changes, right? So, famous one, yeah, go ahead.
I was saying, kind of in response to what you were saying, I was just kind of thinking about how a lot of people I know and just, you know, college age children I know, have kind of this notion of separating the idea of sex with someone that you like care about your relationship with, and like sex with someone who isn't in that field, almost so they're like two different things entirely. Like the idea that like sex with someone you care about is about like one certain aspect of your life, and then sex with someone you don't care about is like almost like a completely different thing, even if the end goal is still like orgasm.
Yeah, there's a distinction that's cross-cultural between nice girls and sluts. That's a way of putting it. So nice girls are the ones that when you have sex with them, it's part of a story of romance. And the other kind, it's offensive to call them sluts now, but that's the terminology. So slut shaming, which is what we call this, the idea that being told that you are or having somebody broadcast that actually you're a slut, is negative. But actually part of what we're doing when we think about hookups versus initiation of romances is we're thinking, and now we'd probably want we'd want to change this value system because it no longer respects our values. We don't think that somebody a girl who does this with us is bad. But we still use terminology sometimes in describing it that suggests that there's something negative about it. So but what we're doing is, and when we have these possibilities, we're actually dividing again. We're saying, once upon a time, right, you could only have sex with, either somebody you paid or with somebody that you were planning to marry. And that was a big division between the girls that you could buy and the ones that you couldn't. Now you don't have to buy those, right? And a whole set goes with a whole set of things. What will nice girls do in bed? What will sluts do in bed? What is it okay to ask for? What is it not okay for? What would you never indicate that you wanted? What are you happy to indicate that you want? These are all part of the repertoire, right, of these distinctions. So when couples now claim, as they often do, the married couples say, sex is not good. That's lust, that's charm, whatever. Part of what they're thinking is something like this. The things that I want to do, or the things that we want to do in bed, are not the kinds of things that I'm comfortable doing in bed with you, but I want to do them. Once upon a time, you just put up and shut up on those things, or you paid somebody to do things. Now that's no longer the case. So we have a whole set of things that are related to making these divisions. And with them goes a whole set of things about what the fantasies are that you have. Because, look, so let's just take, so what fantasies what fantasies go along with this picture of the person you're in bed with, and what fantasies go along with this one? These can be very different, or they can start to approach one another. It can be that you don't really distinguish in which kinds of, and that goes along with, well, I just saw the statistics of how much porn, there was a big article in the New York Times on Sunday about how much porn people have seen by a certain time in their life, and what they therefore think about what it's okay to do or ask another person to do, or what they think they're fine doing. And if you see a lot of this, right, you think, oh look, those are people just like me, and look what they're doing. It must be okay for me to do it, or it must be okay for him to ask me, or it must be okay for me to ask him. Right, these are all now sort of open, whereas before you might not even have heard of any of those things. Right? It wasn't like you were thinking, gosh, I hope we can have anal sex soon. It was that you were unaware that there was such a thing. Right? But as soon as you know about it, you probably don't think things like, I'd really like to eat little pieces of raw fish on little pieces of rice with a little bit, until you find out that there is such a thing as sushi and so on, and then you think, oh, people eat that? I should try it. Right? And it's not that different with our sexual tastes. Yeah.
Well, that also comes, one more thing too, is that like, you see like a porn film, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing this like amazing thing you want to do, but your partner's incapable of doing that.
Incapable?
Or like, it's like he's not skilled enough for...
Oh, well,
Sorry.
of course, that's so part of it is that there's the eroticon. So it used to be the old joke about the Kama Sutra, right? Which, you think, we should do a number 497. So let's see, you get your foot up on this chandelier and see if you can hang your toes that way, and then you think, yeah, well, not today maybe, right? And that's another part, which is, are porn stars good models for what your sexual life, or how your body should look, or what you should do with it? Are the kinds of acts that you see, are they really taking place? Is that faked in some way? Should I really be thinking that that's something to do? So when I was probably 30, something like that, I think that's when Deep Throat came out. That was one of the first real big porn films. And there still wasn't the web. You got to go to the theater to see them. And they were always in seedy parts of town, right, which you might not want to go to. But Deep Throat was the idea was there was a woman who had her clitoris was in her throat. Get that? How real is that? And so she had orgasm by having oral sex, by deep throating, by taking the penis down into her throat. And then soon thereafter, there was a spate of women in emergency rooms with having hemorrhages from trying to do this, or having sex with men who now thought this was perfectly okay, right? So, and of course, that there's a feedback loop on this. After a while, you think, okay, that's probably not a good idea. But the point is, though, that is what we're looking at. So when we think that and we'll come back to this maybe on Monday, is to talk a little bit about what it means to see sex as a consumer item. Right, so what it means when because part of where I want to go with this, as you see Plato is love projects for itself a world in which love can thrive. And the question is, are all societies good societies in which to do your loving, or are some better than others? So there turns out to be a kind of huge political side to the question of what love is. So of course we can see it when we say, look at the divorce rate. You can also say, look at the fact that in the 50s, a single male could make enough to support his wife and two or four children in relative comfort. Now 2 people working can't do it. Right? Look at student debt and think about that once upon a time we had none. And everybody, there was still education, good education, but we had no student debt. Where does all this stuff come from, and what does it do to family life when in fact it now turns out that there's economic hardship and far more of it in families? That economic hardship is not a very good condition to be having nice romantic relations, right? Okay, so we'll come back. Have a good St. Valentine's Day. Talk about all of these things with your sweetheart.